Good morning, brothers and sisters in Christ, the lowly servant here. Welcome to my channel. This is an excerpt from the New American Bible Revised Edition about the Second Book of Maccabees. Have a listen, but first, although this book, like the preceding one, receives its title from its protagonist, Judas Maccabee or Maccabeus, it is not a sequel to the first book of Maccabees. The two differ in many respects. Whereas the first covers the period from the beginning of the reign of Antiochus IV, 175 BC, to the accession of John Hyrcanus I, 134 BC. This book treats of the events in Jewish history from the time of the high priest Onias III and King Seleucus IV to the defeat of Nicanor's army. The author of the Second Book of Maccabees states that this one-volume work is an abridgment of a five-volume work by Jason of Cyrene. But since this latter has not survived, it is difficult to determine its relationship to the present epitome. One does not know how freely the anonymous epitomizer may have rewritten the original composition, or how closely the abridgment follows the wording of the original. Some parts of the text here clearly not derived from Jason's work are the preface, the epilogue, and probably also certain moralizing reflections. It is certain, however, that both works were written in Greek, which explains in part why the Second Book of Maccabees was not included in the canon of the Hebrew Bible. The book is not without genuine historical value in supplementing the First Book of Maccabees, and it contains some apparently authentic official documents. Its purpose, whether intended by Jason himself or read into it by the compiler, is to give a theological interpretation to the history of the period. The major concern is the Jerusalem temple, whose defender is the God of Israel. There is less interest, therefore, in the military exploits of Judas Maccabeus, and more in God's marvelous interventions on behalf of the Jews and their temple. These divine actions direct the course of events, both to punish the sacrilegious and blasphemous pagans, and to purify and restore the temple. The author sometimes effects this purpose by transferring events from their proper chronological order, by giving exaggerated figures for the size of armies and the numbers killed in battle, by placing long edifying discourses and prayers in the mouths of heroes, and by describing elaborate celestial apparitions. The book is the earliest known source of stories that glorify both holy martyrs of theological importance or the author's teachings on Israel's sufferings. The resurrection of the just on the last day, the intercession of the saints in heaven for people living on earth, and the power of the living to offer prayers and sacrifices for the dead. The beginning of the Second Book of Maccabees consists of two letters sent by the Jews of Jerusalem to their co-religionists in Egypt. They deal with the observance of the feast commemorating the central event of the book, the purification of the temple, Hanukkah. It is uncertain whether the author or a later scribe prefixed these letters to the narrative proper. If the author is responsible for their insertion, the book must have been written sometime after 124 BC, the date of the more recent of the two letters. A date of composition in the last 2nd century BC is likely.